Hi, Chuck Hawley from West Marine, and today I'm talking to John and Amanda Neal. John and Amanda have done cruising seminars all over the United States, and one of the things that they talk about is how to outfit a used boat for cruising. So John, one of the pieces of advice you give is that sometimes when you buy a 15 or 20-year-old boat, you want to go through and replace the electronics. But why is that important?
Well, our boat now is 15 years old, and a few things are starting to break and have to be replaced. And what we're finding is that some of the companies are out of business. Some of the series of electronics are no longer maintained, support's no longer maintained for parts and service, and they don't talk to newer stuff.
Well, I can relate to that. We just bought a 13-year-old cruising boat, and some of the instruments aren't supported anymore. And looking at the GPS, it's like looking at a relic, you know? So what are some of the features that you'd look for if you were replacing Mahina-Tiari's electronics?
Well, compatibility, system compatibility is really important to me. When we were in Sweden about 4 or 5 years ago, we installed an AIS receiver, and it was fantastic. There weren't transceivers at that time, or actually, we tried to get one, but it didn't work. And so we've used that now across the North Atlantic, through the Panama, across the Pacific a couple times, and we really want to get a transceiver. They have progressed in their features and in their intercompatibility, and so we just bought one. But many of the boats that our students are considering are 20 or 30 years old, and if they buy an AIS, it will not talk to the radar chart plotter that was on the boat. And we had that problem, but now we have a newer Marine radar chart plotter, and it does support the new transceiver, AIS transceiver. So
do you recommend that people pick and choose their electronics from different brands to get just the models they want, or do you recommend a uniform vendor?
Well, Nigel Calder tried that on his latest Malo 46 he had built in Sweden, and he's had no end of grief of getting all the different brands to talk to each other. And so we found that going with one brand really makes a lot more sense. Then the AIS feeds into the chart plotter radar, the other instruments feed in there, so you have a screen that you have all the information available, and that really makes a difference.
Now, one of the differences in your seminars is you used to advise radar as sort of an optional piece of gear, but more and more I'm hearing you say that it's a priority piece of gear. Why is that?
Well, partly because the prices come down, the sizes come down, the power consumption has come down, and with this intercompatibility of systems, it means that you can use one screen to do a lot of different functions. The chart plotter feature of radars is just every year gets better. When you look at the electronic charts available worldwide, it just improves every year. And so if you can use one screen for showing the depth contours, the speed, the wind speed, all this information, it really makes sense.
So if you're buying a second-hand cruising boat, say 10 or 15 or even 20 years old, especially 20 years old, you might be well advised to put aside some of your cruising kitty for a new electronic suite. They're less expensive, they draw less power, and they do a heck of a lot more than they used to. So, hope you've enjoyed this quick video. We'll see you on the water.